Samantha and Joy were from Africa, but now their home was Italy. They had left the warm, red earth of their childhood for a country of ancient stones and winding roads. They came with dreams folded neatly in their suitcases, dreams of a different kind of life. A life with more choices, more possibilities. They learned the language, the musical sounds of Italian rolling off their tongues, sometimes smoothly, sometimes with a slight hesitation. They worked hard, saved their money, and went through many papers. Finally, the day came. The government gave them a small, important book. It was a passport, dark red and official. It said they were citizens of Italy. They held it in their hands and felt a strange mix of pride and fear. They thought citizenship would be a magic key, a key that would unlock all the doors that were once closed to them. But life is never so simple. The new passport did not erase the color of their skin. It did not change the questions in people's eyes when they spoke Italian with an accent that was not from any part of Italy. They were Italian now, on paper. But in the streets of Rome, in the small shops and crowded buses, they were still seen as outsiders. They were the girls from Africa. They had to work harder to prove they belonged. They had to smile more, be more polite, just to be accepted. The citizenship was a shield, but it was not armor. It protected them from some things, but not from the small, sharp pains of not quite belonging. Samantha was the quiet one. She was like a calm river, moving slowly but with great depth. She observed everything. She noticed the way Italian women tied their scarves, the way men greeted each other with a quick kiss on each cheek. She stored these details in her mind, trying to understand the culture from the inside out. Joy was different. She was fire. She was loud and laughed easily, her voice carrying through the piazzas. She was not afraid to ask questions, to challenge things she did not understand. She wanted to grab life with both hands and shake it until it gave her what she wanted. She was impatient with the slow pace of acceptance. She wanted to be seen for who she was, not for where she came from. Their friendship was a beautiful dance between these two different energies. Samantha's calm soothed Joy's fire. Joy's boldness encouraged Samantha to step out of her shell. They lived in a small apartment with a tiny balcony that overlooked a busy street. In the evenings they would sit there sharing stories of their day. They talked about the man at the market who overcharged them, or the woman on the bus who gave them a warm smile. They cooked meals together, the smells of their home country mixing with the new spices of Italy. Their apartment was a small island of Africa in the middle of Europe. It was their safe place where they could be themselves without explanation or apology. It was their anchor in this new and often confusing world. The challenges they faced were like the rain in winter. Sometimes a light drizzle, sometimes a heavy storm. Language was a big one. They had learned Italian, yes, they could order coffee and ask for directions, but they struggled with the nuances, the jokes, the fast-paced conversations that flew around them like birds. They would sit with Italian colleagues during lunch breaks, smiling and nodding but understanding only half of what was said. They felt like they were watching a movie without subtitles. This made them feel isolated even when they were surrounded by people. It was a loneliness that was heavy and silent, a constant reminder that they were still learning the rules of this new game. Then there was the work. Finding a job that matched their skills was difficult. In their home country, Samantha had been studying to be an accountant, and Joy had a flair for design. But in Italy, their qualifications were often overlooked. They had to take jobs in cleaning, in restaurants, in places where their minds were not challenged. They worked long hours for low pay. They would come home with tired bodies and aching feet. Some days, the disappointment was a physical weight on their shoulders. They would look at their Italian passports and wonder why it had not made things easier. They had the right to be there, but they did not always feel they had the right to dream big. Fitting into the culture was another mountain to climb. They loved the beauty of Italy, the art, the history, but there were small things that made them feel like they were on the outside looking in. The way families were so close, with generations living in the same town. They missed their own families, the easy comfort of being with people who had known them their whole lives. They tried to make friends, but it was hard. People were polite, but distant. They were invited to parties, but they often felt like interesting guests, not true friends. They were asked many questions about Africa, as if it were a single, small village and not a vast continent of many countries and cultures. There were moments of deep sadness, moments when they questioned their decision to come to Italy. Was this new life worth the price of what they had left behind? They missed the familiar food, the music, the easy laughter of their own people. They missed the feeling of belonging without trying. In Italy, they were always trying to speak correctly, trying to dress correctly, trying to be the right kind of immigrant. It was exhausting. Some nights one of them would cry, and the other would sit beside her, holding her hand, not saying anything. Because sometimes, there were no words that could make it better. There was only the comfort of knowing that someone else understood. Their friendship was their greatest strength. It was the solid ground beneath their feet when everything else felt shaky. Samantha and Joy supported each other in ways that were both big and small. When Joy felt frustrated with her job, tired of being treated as invisible, Samantha would listen. She would not offer easy solutions. Instead, she would make a cup of strong, sweet tea, just like they used to drink at home. She would sit with Joy in the quiet of their apartment, letting her pour out all her anger and disappointment. Samantha's presence was a calming balm, a silent promise that she was not alone in her struggle. Her quiet strength gave Joy the courage to face another day. Joy, in her own way, was Samantha's rock. Samantha was more sensitive to the small slights, the curious stares. She would often retreat into herself, building a wall around her heart to protect it from being hurt. Joy would not let her stay there. She would pull her out of the apartment, insisting they go for a walk, or to a museum, or to a free concert in the park. She would make Samantha laugh with her silly jokes and her dramatic stories. Joy reminded Samantha that there was still beauty and joy to be found in this new country. She was the one who pushed Samantha to enroll in an evening accounting course, telling her, "Your brain is too smart to be scrubbing floors, we will find a way." They created their own rituals, their own traditions. Every Sunday, they would go to the market together, not just to buy food, but to practice their Italian, to feel a part of the local life. They would challenge each other to have a short conversation with a shopkeeper, and they would celebrate their small victories with a gelato, no matter the weather. These small acts of courage built their confidence, step by step. They also celebrated holidays from their home country, cooking traditional meals and playing the music of their childhood. It was their way of keeping their roots alive, of reminding themselves of who they were before they came to Italy. This blend of two cultures became the unique fabric of their new life. Their support was also practical. They pooled their money to pay the rent. When one was sick, the other would work a double shift to cover the lost wages. They shared clothes, books, and dreams. Their bond was deeper than friendship. It was a sisterhood forged in the fire of shared experience. They understood each other's silences, the meaning behind a sigh or a tired smile. They did not need to explain their feelings of being caught between two worlds, because they were both living it every single day. This unspoken understanding was a precious gift. It was the one thing that made the hard days bearable and the good days sweeter. They were each other's family in this foreign land. Did they succeed in building a happy life in Italy? The answer is not a simple yes or no. It is a story still being written. Their life was not the perfect dream they had imagined when they first arrived. It was more complicated, more challenging, but also more real. They learned that happiness was not a destination they would one day arrive at. It was something they had to build, day by day, with their own hands. They found happiness in the small moments, a perfect cup of cappuccino in the morning, a beautiful sunset over the city's rooftops, a kind word from a stranger. They learned to appreciate the journey, with all its bumps and detours. Their friendship, however, was an undeniable success. It had grown stronger, more resilient. It was the foundation upon which they built their new lives. They had faced the challenges of being immigrants together, and this had created a bond that could not be broken. They knew that no matter what happened, they would always have each other. This knowledge gave them a sense of security that no passport or job could ever provide. Their shared laughter was the music of their home, and their shared struggles were the roots that held them firmly in this new soil. They were no longer just two girls from Africa. They were Samantha and Joy of Rome, a team, a family. Slowly, things began to change for the better. Samantha finished her accounting course and found an internship at a small firm. It was not a high-paying job, but it was a start. It was a step in the right direction. Joy discovered a passion for making jewelry, using colorful beads from Africa and elegant metals from Italy. She started selling her creations at a local market on weekends. People loved her unique designs. It was a small business, but it was hers. These successes were not grand, but they were significant. They were proof that their hard work was paying off. They were slowly carving out a space for themselves in this new society. In the end, Samantha and Joy did build a life in Italy. It was a life woven from threads of two different cultures, a life marked by both struggle and triumph. It was a good life, not because it was easy, but because it was theirs. They had earned it. They had found a way to be both African and Italian, to hold on to their past while embracing their future. And they had done it together. Their story was not just about finding a new home in a new country. It was a story about the enduring power of friendship and the quiet courage it takes to create a life of one's own, no matter where you are in the world.